for 2-year terms.
The
Tamara
one-year term?
Dickinson for a 3-year term.
The 1-year terms?
Yeah,
Okay.
1-year term.
And then
Tammy for the 3-year term.
Second.
moved by Smelker, second by Parker to reappoint Barbara Scott and appoint Janice Fitzgerald to serve on the Berry County Animal Shelter Advisory Board in a citizen-at-large position for 1-year terms that begin on 1/1/20 and expire 12/31/20. Discussion.
Just to say that it's great to have so many good applicants
Yes.
for these boards. It's literally, there's so many good people that those are great, and I hope we can find a spot for everybody who applies somewhere in our community working with our board, so.
Did you mention Tamara for 3 years?
Not yet, I'll read that one next. Thank you. The other item was moved by Smelker, supported by Parker, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to reappoint Tamara Dickinson to serve on the Berry County Animal Shelter Board in a citizen-at-large position for a 3-year term that begins on 1/1/20 and expires on 12/31/22.
Support.
I already had it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nay. The appointments are approved. Alrighty. Daryl Haubecker. Good morning.
Hi.
Please take a few minutes to introduce yourself and explain why you would like to be appointed to the Berry County Mental Health Board.
And if you could please speak in the microphone.
Yes, please. And then we'll ask you a few questions.
Okay. Well, I'm Daryl Haubecker. I've lived here for 40 years. I retired from the public library in 2012. No, 2007. It goes so fast. And I did some security guard work. And one of the fellows, the other security guard, was on the mental health board. And I thought, no, that's interesting, because I thought it had to be, like somebody professional or something like that. And then my son, Seth, is bipolar. And he's been, 50 years ago, fell 30 feet head first out of a tree, just had a bruised brain. After 6 weeks in intensive care, they put me in mental health for 6 weeks. And so I've had just a little experience with that way. We've had my son up to Forest View a couple times, and he is in good shape now. He has his own apartment. In fact, he's doing so well. Mental health has said, I think we can discontinue our monthly visits. There's always the option, if need be, to go back there. I am retired, and I am on the board for mental health for Lighthouse on the Lake Drop-In Center out by Dewey's Auto Body. I've been their secretary for a couple years. And we see Tina from CMH and Holly. I saw both of those. And Jennifer, our director at the Lighthouse Center, suggested that they thought I would be a good fit for the Mental Health Board. So I thought that I would apply. I've got just that experience with the Lighthouse on the Lake Drop-In Center and a lot with my son. My two main ministry opportunities right now, in early morning, I'm on the evangelistic Jews for Jesus chat box. I like to answer the messages that people leave. Some of them are suicidal. Some of them have needs. And I have some little experience with that, not a whole lot. The other thing is Crossroad Prison Ministries. I grade prisoner inmate lessons and I have to write a letter with each one. And we get a variety of things. I've been doing both of those. The chat box for 4 years and the prison ministry letters for 6 years. I was examined for the pastorate, and 2 different groups concluded my ministry would be good to be a fill-in pastor, a temporary. And so that's why I do have just a little bit of experience with counseling people, but not a whole lot. And I just saw that there were some positions on the board and thought, well, I would just offer if there's a need, and I'm approved, great. My wife thinks I'm busy enough, so whatever.
I tell my husband the same thing when he tells me I'm too committed.
And I was going to tell her I understood this was a monthly board meeting. I'm a crossing guard. I get off at Northeastern at 10 till 8, so I should be able to make the 8 o'clock meetings if selected.
Commissioner Gibson?
Yes, Daryl, thanks for all you do in the community. And our meetings are 8 o'clock on the second Thursday. Is that a problem?
Yeah, no problem. I was just concerned. I had asked a couple of people at the Berry County Mental Health if it would be a conflict of interest, because I'm on the board for the Lighthouse on the Lake, and they pointed out you're on a couple different boards, and so they thought it wouldn't be a problem.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Smelker?
No questions, but thank you very much for applying, Daryl.
Commissioner Geiger?
Thank you for your application, for your leadership in the community. You worked at the public library for how many years?
28 years.
Okay, so you have a lot of experience dealing with people.
Yeah, customer service. I'm 2/3 of the time, when you called or came to the library, I'd be the one that you would first meet.
Oh, great. So part of the duties of the mental health board, you have your monthly meetings and you approve budgets and listen to presentations, but it's also being an ambassador for mental health and for sharing with folks what services might be out there. So do you, is that something that you would be willing to do on the mental health board? You know, just if you're out and somebody, you know, brings up a situation out of the blue and say, hey, you know, we do have these services available.
I think so. You see these commercials on TV advertising foster parenting or something like that.
Yes.
And it says, take, you know, something like that. Lighthouse on the Lake Drop-In Center, I already do that somewhat.
Right.
Now, I'm not real good at like fundraising and stuff. We had a fundraiser at Thanksgiving. We thought it would be good, a Thanksgiving gram. We just put it in the banner and the reminder and said, for $5, you know, we'll send a thank you to your professional, you know, or something. We didn't get any takers except I get mileage, so I turned some in. So that didn't fly. So like I say, I'm not real good at the fundraising, but I do, you know, making the things known. I do already for Lighthouse on the Lake Drop-In Center.
Great. Well, I think you'd be a great fit on the board. Thanks for your application.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Parker?
Yeah, thank you for applying, Daryl. I appreciate your background as far as being able to relate and have empathy for what's going on down there. I especially like the idea that you still are, that you are a crossing guard too. I think that's neat. I have a good friend that does that in Grand Rapids, and it's a way of really communicating with some of these kids too.
I had been a volunteer. They had a watchdog program. Dads and granddads could help out at Northeastern. And so the new principal there knew me. And when the gal got a full-time job, he just called me up and said, we'd like you to be a crossing guard. So that's worked out great. I enjoy it.
Yep, yep. I have no other questions. Do you see anything that would be different in the program at all, or you're not familiar enough with the program to understand what it's about now?
With the program, you mean Berry County Mental Health? Or
Yes.
the particular?
Berry County Mental Health.
Well, we've been acquainted with it for a long time. We had some family counseling about 30 years ago. Sometimes your kids don't always do what you want you to do. And that was the case with 2 of them. And so we've had some experience, but that's all settled down and pretty much been straightened out. And like I say, for a long time, I've been through it with my one son. There's a history there with him, but he's settled now, and when he's on his medicine, he does well.
Thank you very much.
And Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you. The Drop-In Center, how long have you been associated with them?
Several years we've been going. I've just been on the board for about 2 years.
About 2 years, okay. What exactly is a Drop-In Center?
Well, it's a place, Brian Wellwood's father started it. He's from Jimho. I'm not sure what all these things stand for. But it's just a place where anyone with a present or past history of mental health can go. It's open roughly 8 to 4, Monday through Friday. We have several holidays. We take outings once a month, like we're going to the American Museum of Magic in Belding in about 10 days. And it's just open for anyone. We have activities. They do have some different support classes. We're just going to be getting a whole range through Cooperative Extension. It's going to have a whole range of classes. What's the word? Viability, sustainability. I'm not thinking of ends in ility, but it's a word that means you are stable. And Cooperative Extension will be teaching that 5 hours, 1 hour a week, and just different things. We have exercise machines. Like we have just the center is there. Our director, We rotate. Usually she works so many hours, but we, on the board, she gets a day off during the week, and so we will fill. A board member has to be there or the director at all times.
Okay. Now, are you, is that a paid position or is that a
Oh,
volunteer
no,
position?
only the director is paid. All the rest of us are volunteer.
Okay, so you've had a couple of years' experience in it. Do they work with our Berry County Community Mental Health at all? Are
Oh,
they-
yes, when Tina from there comes to our monthly meeting, or our every other monthly meeting, and yes, we have relations with them. Mhm.
Okay.
The drop-in center was started, they wanted someplace for people to go, and this one man, Brian Wellwood's father started, and there are several, like in Ionia, and unfortunately, there was one in Allegan, but very rural, and there wasn't enough use, so it had to close. But there are several around the state. Lansing is the headquarters.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I appreciate your investment in the community, especially in mental health. The prison ministry is fantastic, and some of the things you're doing for us, so that's very deeply appreciated.
Some
Thank you for
people
your
might-
application.
Might not appreciate this one, but I am too a tax volunteer. For 2 years, I actually did the returns. As Davenport University does it at Hastings Public Library in Nashville and Delton. But the third year, it got too much. I had to go, the stress, had to go see a chiropractor. So now I'm just a greeter.
There you go. All right, well, I appreciate that. Very, very well-rounded background. Thank you.
So some revenuers are good.
All right. Teresa Moody.
Thank you, sir, for keeping us lined up today.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Take a few minutes to introduce yourself, and then we'll get to ask you some questions.
Okay, Teresa Moody. I've been in Hastings 3 years. My family has been here for maybe 15. Oh, geez, where to start? I have a lot of background. I have a mentally ill son. We have used Berry County Mental Health for the 3 years that we've been here. I've worked in nursing homes for about 13 years with the special units, the elderly, of course, and the Alzheimer's unit. My son had a break in Canada and spent a year in the hospital, so while he was there, I took a lot of courses on mental health and what was wrong with him so that I could aid him. I'd rather you ask me questions. I don't know what to say. I did sit on the school board in Canaan, Vermont for 7 years, so I have experience with the way things go and how intimidated people feel over here.
There you go.
Commissioner Gibson.
Our meetings are on the second Thursday at 8 a.m. Is that a problem?
No.
Well, thanks for applying and thanks for all you do in the community.
Commissioner Smoker.
You probably got it on here, but what's your schooling?
My schooling, through high school, I was in the Coast Guard. I have an equivalent of associate's degree from the Coast Guard, and I have done 2 semesters a year or so studying human resources. I've always worked in human resources. I worked for New Hampshire for 3 years with their mental health disabilities program, taking clients out into the community and getting them jobs. So high school, some schooling, some college.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Commissioner Geiger.
Hi, I'm Ben Geiger. Don't think I've had the opportunity to meet you.
No.
You served on an elected board in Vermont.
Yes.
Now, they do things very differently than in Michigan, don't they?
I've never been on a board here.
Okay.
They clear the snow better. But it snows every day, so.
Okay. Well, what are some of the things that you learned on the school board? Well, first of all, why did you run for that office?
For the school board?
Yeah.
I had 4 boys in the school system. It was a small town, and the teachers asked me to. I guess they probably felt like I supported them, which I did. And I wanted to help out, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's-
that's usually how it starts.
Yeah.
So,
Innocently enough.
yeah. We have, usually every year, we have around 136 different citizen appointments to make to different boards. In the chance that you aren't appointed to the Mental Health Board, would you still be interested in serving in other places in the county government?
I would be interested. I would entertain anything, really. Yeah.
Great.
I have a passion for mental health, so that's why this one's, I've been waiting for this to come up.
Well, thank you for your application, Tricia. I don't have any more questions. Or Teresa, I don't have any more questions.
Commissioner Jackson.
We appreciate the application. On your application, you put, you believe you could bring a fresh perspective and unique experiences that may help improve Berry County community mental health. Have you seen an area with your interaction with Berry Community Health? Have you seen areas that you think you could contribute to and make a difference?
What I would like to contribute to, there's 3 things that I would like to really put my energy into. I would like to get a real psychiatrist over there. My son doesn't have one. The one that was there retired, and he just Skypes. And I feel strongly that that's not very effective, at least for him anyway. So I'd like to try to get a real psychiatrist in the house. I don't know, there may be, but the information I've gotten, there doesn't seem like there's a lot of support groups for the people who support the mentally ill. And I think Canada, the reason why I say that is because my son got sick in Canada, and they have an outstanding program with a lot of things. And so programs for the people who support the mentally ill, I think, are really important. It helps you, there's a lot of stigma, of course, and it helps you understand, and a lot of parents, a lot of mentally ill people just end up alone because nobody supports them. And that was a big turnaround for me when my son did get sick, and I realized he was sick as opposed to just being a jerk. But I did spend a year taking a lot of courses on mental illness, and it certainly helped me, and I'd like to see if there is, I don't know about it, over there, more groups, support groups for the people who support the mentally ill. And the third one is, he was talking about at Lighthouse, a place where I see a lot of mentally ill people on the streets. My son is one. He's young and he's lonely, and Lighthouse doesn't have a lot of things that interest him, and I'd like to try to broaden that, a pool table somewhere. I'm glad to hear they do have outings.
We used to have a pool table.
Yeah. I've been in Lighthouse, and my son has, and it just wasn't an environment that he enjoyed, so I'd like to expand on that. And I'm very green. I don't know. It might be out there, but I feel like they need a place to get together with each other, and not have to just be walking around on the streets with nothing to do. And I know they choose to do that a lot of times, but I feel like that could be something I would be looking into and trying to improve.
Awesome. Well, that's definitely a good perspective, because a lot of times people want to be on a board, but you've got some real life experience on that on a day-to-day basis, and I think that could be a useful set of eyes for our community here as well. So thank you for your application.
Sure.
Thank you for your application. Is there a reason why you moved to this area then? Or is-
My husband worked in customs, and we were in Montreal for his last gig, and we're retired. And my dad is here, and my brother's here, and we've always liked it. I mean, I've known about Hastings for years, but we were not around, but now we are.
Yeah, okay.
It's a great community, very community-oriented, family-oriented. I love that.
I've been up to fish over at Rice Lake, and there's a Hastings right up there.
Oh.
Too, Hastings, Canada. And I just wondering if it was because of the name of the town or something.
No.
Okay.
And they wouldn't let us stay.
So you have really concentrated on the fact that you feel that there's some things that could be improved. And do you think that would be important to not only your son, but other people?
Oh, I think about the community. I mean, I don't want any parent. When we first moved here, it was very difficult to get in. And again, no support group that I know of. If there is, then we just need to work on maybe pushing that some more. But there's really no support for the families. And I'm not doing this for my son. He's stable. But I think again, having Canada to compare it to, they're very supportive. And again, I'm just one person. I don't know. I'm speaking from my experience walking in there to Berry County and trying to get the help and you know, I think I forgot your question.
All right.
I'm still on coffee. It wears off after a while.
I have no other questions.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any questions for you. Thank you so much for coming up here today
Sure.
and
I have
dealing with
one
this.
quick.
Sure.
Said you're from Montreal. Do you speak French?
Not very well. Usually when I do, they switch to English.
Okay.
My German's the same way.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions for you today. We will be making a recommendation and we'll make our final decision next week, which is, we discuss it and then we vote on it next week.
Right,
So
right, okay.
that's how that works.
I'd love to hang around, but I got Meals on Wheels this morning, so my husband's loading up the car.
Oh,
And he
well.
can't do it by himself, trust me.
Get busy then.
Okay, it was nice meeting you all. I appreciate
you.
the invite, excuse me.
Thank you, thank you. You're welcome. All righty. That takes care of all of our interviews. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I think you have 3 very good applicants for
Yeah.
mental health.
You sure we can't find another spot on that board?
We do.
Who? From the peanut gallery, we have comments this morning. Thank you, Mr. Hallbacker. I appreciate your comments.
I do know from the health department standpoint that substance abuse and alcoholism is higher than most in this area. I think that someone that would be able to relate in that field would be important to have on the board too. So, but I like you, John says, is 3 wonderful applicants.
Yeah, that's right. The statistics do show that Berry County has a higher level of alcoholism than our surrounding counties. And for decades, it's been a problem that a lot of families don't talk about. So Jennifer's courage in talking about her story, I think, can be the key to getting more people into treatment. So I think she'd be a great part of that board.
Yes, I would make the motion that Jennifer Myers and Teresa Moody go on the mental health board, and I would really hope we could talk Darrell into the COA board. But that's it. I'll make a motion for Jennifer and Teresa.
Do you have a preference in which spot they go in?
I don't.
Does anybody like to amend that?
We have, they're both filling vacancies, right?
I think approve Jennifer to serve the Berry County Community and Mental Health Board for a 3-year term. And
Teresa?
Teresa to serve on the Berry County for a 3-year term that begins April 1st, 19, expires on March 31st, 22.
Okay.
I think you have those backwards.
He was putting Meyer in the first spot and Moody in the second spot. Correct?
Yeah, I'm open for other suggestions.
Yeah.
Somebody had to do something here, so.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Parker, supported by Gibson, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to appoint Teresa Moody to serve, to appoint Jennifer Meyer to serve on the Berry County Community Mental Health Authority Board for a 3-year term that began on April 1st, 2018 and expires on March 31st, 2021, and to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to appoint Teresa Moody to serve on the Berry County Community Mental Health Authority Board for a 3-year term that began on 4/1/19 and expires on 3/31/22. Discussion?
Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. The item is approved. Stephanie Lehman.
And we have a lot of positions. You're right.
We have a
need to
ton
get,
of positions.
You're all plugged in.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning.
At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners adoption of Resolution 19-24, resolution to approve ballot proposal for the renewal of the countywide E911 emergency telephone and central dispatch system millage. Thank you.
So moved.
Or
Moved by Smelker, support by Geiger. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. I am here seeking permission and your approval to be on the ballot for the 5-year renewal for our funding millage out at the 911 center, and just looking for a straight 5-year renewal with the Headley rollback.
Any questions for Stephanie?
The ballot proposal is the exact same as it was last time?
It is, with the exception of the date to be on the ballot in March as opposed to August. Correct.
That is the only question I have for her.
The millage is up to, but I know I don't know if I was talking to John or someone else, that it doesn't necessarily have to go to the full amount, or there's based on fund balance and based on needs at that point, or is it a full millage?
So since 1992, the citizens of Berry County have been incredibly supportive of the 911 system, and so the original millage in 92 was to levy up to 1 full mill. And so the last 2 elections, so 2010, 2014, with the Headley rollback, it was 0.9814. Due to the increase in property value, the Headley rollback has also increased, and so this renewal with the Headley rollback is for 0.9672 is what it would be. That would be the maximum amount that the authority board could bring before the Board of Commissioners for levy for our operation. Now, the Berry County the 911 Finance Committee, when we do our budget preparations, we meet, look over fund balance, look over what our projects and staffing needs are for the oncoming year, and then that committee, the Finance Committee, makes a recommendation over, we look at if we levy the maximum amount, this is the amount of revenue we would bring in, 9/10, 8/10, 7/10, 6/10, et cetera. And then the Finance Committee makes a recommendation, then that goes to the full 911 board for their approval, and then that comes to you for placement on the ballot, or for yearly allocations, if you will.
Okay, what was it for this year?
8/10.
8/10.
8/10.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Stephanie? Ben?
I have a couple questions. First of all, why March?
So the August ballot is looking to be very heavy. And with this being my first go-around, being the 911 director and needing the opportunity to go out and to talk about 911 and educate our community on the services that we provide and what we actually do at 911, the board and myself felt that it would be most appropriate for that to happen now before everything gets a little hectic with the presidential election, and then all the local elected officials will be on the ballot at that time. And so that was kind of the conversations that led us to March.
Okay. You might not be able to answer this question, but what happens with the presidential primary election? Because the state lets you put things on the ballot at a certain time. Is there going to be a presidential primary or anything additionally on the ballot?
Yes. And so with March being the closed primarily where you denote party, there will be a third ballot style specific for this proposal if you approve it.
Great. That's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Stephanie? All righty. Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners adoption of Resolution 19-24, resolution to approve ballot proposal for the renewal of countywide E911 emergency telephone and central dispatch system millage. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item is approved.
Thank you.
ma'am. Carrie Selleck. The chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the 2020 grant contract between the State of Michigan and Berry County for the continuation of the Indigent Defense Services in Berry County.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Smelker, support by Gibson. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Okay, so we have submitted the 2020 grant, which of course is, let's see, our fiscal year started in October 1st, so hey, we're right on time, thanks to the state of Michigan. But the grant language is essentially identical to last year. The budget is increased just over, I think, $200,000 from last year. This budget has been approved by MIDC. It includes more pay for our attorneys. It includes additional monies for expert witnesses. It includes construction costs for our permanent office space. It includes witness reimbursement. It includes pay for attorneys for trial time. A lot of new parts to our budget, so those things are all included. It was done along with the help of, obviously, Michael Brown. In terms of the construction cost, I will say MIDC was very impressed with the plans for the office space and the future growth and all of that. They had nothing but nice things to say once they saw all of the plans and the breakdowns. Our compliance plan is essentially the same. We're doing things as we have been doing. Things have been moving very well. We've been very busy.
Sorry about that.
Day after a holiday is always busy. Yesterday was exceptionally busy. So the issues are, and I did get MIDC to kind of get this to us as quickly as they could, because we can't do any construction until this is approved and signed. And I know that that's one thing that the county really wants to get moving on. So all in all, things are essentially the same that we did that was approved in the last grant contract. Really the only difference here is additional funds for different services.
Commissioner Smelker?
Just a comment, I know that we are in 100% compliance with MIDC, which is great, better than most counties. And we have other counties calling and asking, what are we doing? So if I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, you are exactly correct. We have been in 100% compliance for months, and we are helping out other counties as much as we can with some of the forms and processes that we've all kind of created as a group here to make things work smoothly.
I know Calhoun County has only recently announced their director and I mean, just this fall advertised for help and stuff for their indigent defense, and I'm like, what?
And they have been here to visit us.
It just seems like they took forever to get the ball rolling for that county, so I'm sure that there are others that are in the same boat.
There's counties that are struggling. Luckily, we are not one of them.
Questions for Carrie?
So this isn't quite a year old yet, is it? Are we?
Well, almost. Technically, let's see, I started last December, so next week I think is my 1 year. We started in January of 2019, so just shy of a total year.
How did the plan work as we put it together? The reality versus what we hoped was going to happen with the amount of attorneys, the amount of time, the number of clients?
Yep. In reality, it's worked fairly well. Obviously, we've had some bumps in the road. We've had some processes that we maybe had a vision for, and the reality was we needed to do things a little bit differently, maybe our arraignment processes, getting everybody on board to make sure all of the parties were talking to each other before somebody's being arraigned. Attorney caseloads are just slightly higher than they were last year, but the attorneys are all doing exceptionally well, according to the judges that I speak with on a regular basis. So in reality, our plan is working almost exactly as we had envisioned it.
No major bumps, no major having to turn, rethink, refocus. It's all
No, it's just been kind of minor tweaking here and there to make the process work smoother.
awesome. Well, appreciate your leadership in making that all go. So.
I try.
Any other questions for Carrie?
Just one other statement. I sat on the judicial committee, and Carrie sits in on judicial also with the judges and the court administrator, and they work together very well and seems to be running quite smoothly.
We do. We're very lucky here. not all counties have the support that we have from the different departments. We have a trial court who's very supportive. We have judges who are very supportive. We have a magistrate who's exceptionally supportive and worked with me to get all of these processes. A lot of the arraignment process were his ideas. And a prosecutor's office that works with us. That is not the case in a lot of the surrounding counties in our region. A lot of indigent defense offices are getting a lot of pushback from other departments, and we have not had that. Everybody has worked exceptionally well together, from the prosecutor's office, sheriff's department, courts, everybody, and it has been great to see, because we are all on the same team, and that has really come through.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions over here? Dan?
Yeah, on this, it's a cart for review, and it's got a
One of those attachments, yeah.
Hewlett Packard. Is that got to be done separately?
No, that's part of our, I think
Is that part of the program?
it's part of the
all right.
program. MIDC, when they were approving our resubmission of our budget, just wanted, how did you come up with that figure? Well, here's how we came up with it. We Googled it. Or Dave Shinavere Googled it to show us exactly what we needed. So yeah, that's all part of the already in the budget.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
Anything else? Hearing no further discussion, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the 2020 grant contract between the state of Michigan and Berry County for the continuation of indigent defense services in Berry County. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? The item is approved. The next question for the committee would be, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the attached 2020 contracts for Indigent Defense Council Services with Jackie Baker Sturgis, Carol Dwyer, Shane Henry, Kristen Houle, James Kinney, Gordon Shane McNeil, Catherine Russell, Stephen Storrs, Timothy Tromp, and Kimberly Young.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Gibson, support by Geiger. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So again, this contract is a lot like last year's contract. There are some additions. MIDC, obviously, we are being held to very high standards, and MIDC required some additional language in contracts, specifically regarding making sure the attorneys were doing their yearly trainings. And if they weren't, they are to lose their caseloads. That's a directive from MIDC. Ours all did theirs. Everybody's doing theirs. The other kind of difference in the language is when they have to get their vouchers in to be paid. It's just within 14 days. So essentially, these contract terms are essentially the same as last year's contract terms, with the exceptions of some additions about some consequences if the attorneys are not following through with what they're supposed to be doing, i.e., you don't do your training, you don't have a caseload, you don't represent clients. Similar language includes vertical representation, which is the same attorney from beginning to end with very few exceptions in between. Obviously, attorneys have to have coverage now and then because things come up, illnesses happen, cases get, court schedules get moved around, but my attorneys are really good at limiting how many times they have to ask for coverage, but that was, again, additional language MIDC wanted to see in there. And then removal or withdrawal from the contract, that language was tweaked a little bit. If there are issues that come up with attorneys' performance during the year, that they can be removed from the contract. That language wasn't entirely clear last time, so we added that in.
Questions for Carrie?
Well, there is a difference between the last time we did these contracts and this time. It's that the controversy around the appointments has dissipated, and it's clear you know what you're doing and your team knows what you're doing. And this board, the criticism that this board unfairly gave you last time, I think has gone away, and you and your team are going to do a great job in the future.
Thank you. I will say the attorneys have really, it's hard when you change the way you've been practicing law for a number of years, and when you have new requirements that are put in that, let's face it, those of us that do indigent defense work, we have these new rules, but if you go and hire an attorney, they're not bound by these same rules, which still boggles our minds. But the attorneys have really embraced the changes. They've stepped up to the plate. They're providing coverage for arraignments when necessary. they are really vigorously, not that they weren't before, but they have, I guess, the resources behind them now to really vigorously challenge some of these cases that are coming before them. And I know you've seen some of them in the news recently. Attorney Shane McNeil handled, I think, the only felony trial we had this year, and he did an exceptional job to have 5 counts of the most severe charges and in not guilty verdicts, whether you agree with it or not. But that's huge as a defense attorney. That doesn't happen as often as you would think it does. So these attorneys have really stepped up. They've really embraced the changes. They're doing very well. They're following the requirements. They're doing their trainings. They feel like we're a cohesive group and we have a voice, and they're really appreciative for that. And we work well. We have meetings with the judges to make sure everybody's working together. So this group of attorneys has meshed really well, and they've been doing a fantastic job.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Dave.
Just one kind of follow-up on Ben's question. There's a review process in place for the attorneys?
There is. I review them. I spend a lot of time in court watching them. I talk to some of their clients. I talk to some of their former clients. I talk to the judges about how their performance is. And before I chose these 10 individuals, I had a conversation. I don't know if everybody knows, but Judge Skipper is handling 99.9% of the criminal docket for the past year. And so he sees my attorneys every day. And so I had a long conversation with him about each of the attorneys and their preparation and their timeliness and how they're managing their cases. And again, I review them. I talk to their clients, their former clients. If there are complaints, the clients come in, they talk to me, and I try to address those whenever they do happen, because complaints happen. We're not perfect. But yeah, it's a constant review process. If issues come up, I'm addressing them.
Okay, so there's a review process in place to be sure that this group is being, taken care of and following the guidelines.
Absolutely, and all of the attorneys understand that these are year-by-year contracts. And obviously, our yearly contracts are on the calendar year. Our fiscal year is different, but I thought it was important to keep the contracts on the calendar year. But they understand that no one's guaranteed a spot. So if they are not doing their job, they will not be offered a contract the following year. So they know that.
And they know they can lose it in the middle of the year.
Yes, they do.
Any other comments?
Just a comment, and I know it'll be a shock to everyone, but Ben and I disagree on his last comment.
Well, we wouldn't disagree that you're doing a good job.
No, not at all.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
There being no further discussion, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the attached 2020 contracts for Indigent Defense Counsel services with Jackie Baker Sturgis, Carol Dwyer, Shane Henry, Kristen Houle, James Kinney, Gordon Shane McNeil, Catherine Russell, Stephen Storrs, Timothy Trump, and Kimberly Young. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved.
Thank you. We appreciate your continued support. And now I have to go to court.
Oh. Mr. Brown, you are going to conclude the rest of my day, so I'm ready if you are.
Yep, I will try to make it as brief and as quick as
Madam Chair,
you all would like.
Before Michael gives his presentation, I would move to approve items 1 through 6 en bloc, which means he gives one presentation, we vote on all the things at the end with one vote.
Okay, you all right with that?
That I'm fine with, sure.
Okay, we will start with number 1.
So item number 1 is the
The chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of Budget Amendment 19-C.
It's all one vote at the end.
Okay,
So
but I still have to read it.
the motion would be motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of items 1 through 6.
Okay, so
block.
the question then before the committee is to approve items 1 through 6 en bloc. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of them as a whole. Their support, or is there a motion?
I made the motion.
Geiger made the motion and Gibson supported. You and your Gs.
And Sarah, we'll get you that official.
We'll fix that for you. Thanks. All righty, number 1.
Got to vote on. No. This is discussion.
Sorry.
This is discussion.
All those in favor, please say aye.
No. Actually, this is discussion, and we vote on at the end.
Thank you, sir. Let's hear what Michael has to say first.
So the first item is Budget Amendment 19C. We anticipate this being the final budget amendment of the year, and unless, of course, something comes in or we notice something at the last minute. It is based on the revenue and expenditure reports through October. We just received the November report, so we'll take a quick look at those, make sure that there isn't anything else. If there is, we, of course, have one meeting left to do that, and that's on the 17th, which will be both a cow meeting in the morning and a board meeting then following it in the afternoon. Our desire is to keep that one as limited as possible so that we're not having to move too much information in a short period of time. It's in the standard form. Page 1, you'll notice that for the general fund, this results in a reduction, an overall reduction in the general fund of $495. And it also then includes the all other budgeted funds, which begin on page N. So I'd be happy to go through it in detail, or if you would just prefer answer questions if there are any.
I'd prefer to answer questions if there are.
No questions.
Is there any questions for Michael on his?
I don't.
We okayed all of these,
No questions.
I believe, you know, when they happened.
Right.
All right.
Good.
Right, number 2.
The next item is the adoption of a MERS defined benefit agreement amendment for the Berry County Courthouse Employees Association 2020 contribution. And what this will do is increases the employee contribution rate, the amount that the employees will contribute to the retirement by 0.67%. It will go up from 7.49% to 8.16%. In the most recent contract that we negotiated with the Employees Association, which will actually expire at the end of 2020, we agreed that any costs above the 22% rate, the Employees Association would have the option to either absorb that cost or to sit down and bargain a benefit change that resulted in an equivalent reduction. Bless you. We've reached out and the association has advised us that they would prefer to take the increase of 0.67% than to, bless you, than to see a reduction in the benefit. So this is for following with the contract.
Any questions for Michael?
Is it a significant change?
No, it's a change, 0.67%. It will, again, they are currently contributing 7.49%, and it will increase their contribution to 8.16% out of their pay that goes toward the pension benefit. As a side note, this only applies to those that are in the defined benefit program. Those that are currently in the hybrid program, this does not apply to. Bless you again.
Are you allergic to us, Kathy? Yes. Mercy. Any other questions for Michael?
And maybe a better way to answer your question is I gave you, I repeated numbers that you had already heard and didn't really answer your question. It is on the higher side. I think the corrections officers have the highest employee contribution rate at maybe 9.09%, if I'm correct.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Number 3.
Number 3 is our reappointments to the Animal Shelter Advisory Board. This is a request to reappoint Dr. Linda Robinson to serve on the advisory board in a veterinarian position for a 3-year term beginning 1/1/2020 and expiring at the end of 2022. Reappointing Dawn Koning to serve on the, in the rescue shelter operator position, also for a 3-year term beginning 1/1/2020 and expiring on 12/31/2022. And to reappoint Patricia Richardson to serve a 1-year term that begins 1/1/2020 and expires 12/31/2020, representing the Berry County Humane Society.
Any questions?
Just a couple comments. I think
Sorry,
Dr.
Pam.
Linda's been one of the longstanding members of that board, just doing an excellent job, along with Dawn Koenig in the rescue operator. And Patricia Richardson from the Humane Society has also done an exceptional job. That relationship has continued to grow and be better. And I forgot to mention this last week at our Board of Commissioner meetings, but Mary Fisher from the Humane Society did present the Animal Shelter Advisory Board and Ken an additional check for $7,000 at the meeting last week. Her friend Susan J. Floor, who passed away, wanted that money to go to the benefit of the animal shelter and the friends there. So she made an initial contribution of $5,000 for the van and an additional $7,000. So very appreciative to Susan Flora and Mary Fisher and the Humane Society for their continued support of the shelter. So I thought that needed to be recognized. So
Thank you, sir.
Very good.
Any other discussion? Number 4?
This is a reappointment to the Berry County Building Authority. It's the reappointment of Sue Vandekar, our Berry County Treasurer, to serve on the Building Authority for a 3-year term beginning 1/1/20 and ending 12/31/2022. You'll note that there are 4 individuals on that. Sue Vandekar, loosely, if you may, represents the finance side. It's not required, but what we've tried to follow over the years is having somebody that has a finance background. That's Sue. Bob Vanderbo has a background in contracting, construction, those types of that area. And then David Tripp has a background in law as an attorney. So, and then we have a county commissioner. So we have not had any projects for a while on the building authority, but have that in place should we have projects or a refunding or refinancing of previous projects that might come along.
Any questions? Number 5.
This is a resolution to authorize the auditors to transfer the 2019 general surplus funds, if there are any, to various internal service funds. This year I'm recommending that 75% of that go to the building rehabilitation fund and 25% to the data processing fund. Historically, we have also transferred to vehicle and capital. I've taken a look at all the funds. The building rehabilitation is the one that has seen the most activity. We have some projects with the across the street coming up to get that finished up, and my recommendation would be that the majority of any funds that might be available go there, with then 25% going into the data processing fund.
Any questions? Hearing none. Number 6?
And the last item that I have,
Number 5.
No, he did that.
Oh,
That was
okay.
number
I just
5.
didn't check it off, sorry. Number 6.
correct. The final item that I have is a resolution to authorize the auditor to make final year-end transfers. How this differs from the previous resolution is that this will actually come before that previous resolution in the auditor's work, if you may. We have a couple of funds, specifically the Friend of the Court Fund, Adult Drug Court Fund, and the Child Care Fund, that we budget based on worst-case scenarios, so we establish an appropriation every year that's potentially higher than what's necessary. That over the years has allowed these funds to build some fund balance, which is a good thing, but we believe they're at a spot that they do not need to grow anymore. So instead of transferring the full amount, we let the auditors take a look at what the amount is necessary to keep the fund, what amount is necessary to be transferred so that the fund balance remains stable. Now, if for whatever reason, if we had a difficult year, for example, in the child care fund, where we had a number of costly placements, and the appropriation that we make, our full appropriation, wasn't enough to keep the fund balance level, we won't transfer more than that. It can only go to the amount that's been approved by the board. But it has historically been likely, because the court's prudent use of funds and that worst-case scenario budgeting that we put in place, that we don't need to transfer the full amount. And if we did, it would only raise the fund balance to higher. So we just don't see the need to do that. So this looks at the friend of the court, adult drug court, and child care funds, and authorizes the auditors to make only the amount necessary to keep those fund balances level.
Any questions?
What is it a percentage, the fund balance?
I've not really looked at the percentage it is. It's at a raw dollar amount.
Okay.
It's
So you're looking at the dollar amounts,
looking at the dollar amounts, yes.
what you feel you needed through the budget.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Good question, because often we do look at percentages. In this case, it's a dollar amount that they're tying it to.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to approve, or it was motioned by Geiger, supported by Gibson, to recommend the approval en bloc of items 1 through 6 presented by the administrator. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved. Limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the committee may do so for up to 3 minutes. Yes, sir.
I just had one question for Mr. Smelker. He said something about, he thought I might be good on the COA board, so what would be involved with doing that? I have to fill out an application or, okay,
That would be it, yes.
okay, thank you.
You can maybe stop into the office and see if the ladies downstairs can just check a box for you, if it's the
On your
same
previous app.
information on your
The
previous
third floor.
application. Any other public comment? Hearing none, is there any other business to come before the committee? I did receive a text message this morning from Commissioner Connor, if I can find it. It says, "Good morning. I'm sorry she didn't get her packet before she left. I haven't looked at the committees," which my question is, I'll tell you in just a second. But the weather is in the 90s until yesterday, 70 yesterday and 50 this morning. Everyone but me is whining. So I would be whining too. I don't do 90. So I'm glad she's able to enjoy the nice weather. So she sounds like she's having a great time. I do have a project that I need you guys to work on. And it's been a while since we looked at the different committees and who's appointed to what. I have, Luella sent me an email with a list of the committees and who's where. I'd like you to look at those and see if there's any that you would be interested in maybe swapping or switching, or just to take a look at what's available and what's out there, what your interests are. I know we're all pretty settled where we are. Sometimes a new perspective makes a world of difference. And going into the new year and the reorganizational meeting that happens in January, I just like everybody to take a look at things in case there's a change in leadership, or even if there's not. Just kind of evaluate where you are, and if you think you're being effective on the boards that you're on and see if there's something you'd rather do. We don't typically do that in a public meeting. It's just something that I think we all should look at periodically. So we've all pretty much had the same board appointments for the last 3 years, and maybe it's time we look at something different. It's up to you. So, questions?
Not really a question, just a comment. Has anybody done their VIPE security thing on your computers? The 3 classes through IT? On
Maybe we
my,
need to get that done.
on my iPad, I was not able to do it. I had to go over, they hooked me up a laptop into the thing because I cannot get on the intranet with these.
Mine wouldn't do it this morning, and I'm going over there after this meeting.
Yeah, you can't connect through an iPad.
Yeah,
You could have told me that a week ago.
so that is a good piece of information. We need to get our trainings done, and evidently we can't do it.
But they
What's
set
the
you
word I'm
up
looking for?
in that
We can't do it
little
mobily, so we
conference
may
room.
have to.
If yours is working properly, do you need to go do that?
I think it's offered on the intranet,
It's
not the
security training,
internet.
yes.
And so it's a security training, and you may be able to do it on this computer or over at IT. So your tablet probably won't work. So. Anything else? Any other business?
Let you know, because I got a little frustrated.
No.
Yeah, hard to believe, isn't it?
Is there any other business to come before the committee? There being no further.
45
Yeah, I
minutes,
guess
an
so.
hour.
Oh, what do
5 minutes to an hour.
I'm gonna throw out, are we gonna have any kind of a Christmas party?
we had discussed it a couple of weeks ago when you weren't here,
Well,
but
that's
we
probably
never
a good
came to
thing.
any consensus. The thought being maybe we should just visit a local restaurant and have dinner together with our spouses and invite other electeds, or
We've did that before.
what's your pleasure? I mean, we really had a hard time last year, and
That was my,
I really don't want any, no, it wasn't. I don't want any of us to go through what we went through last year. I mean, we had, Dave's family had issues, and you had issues, and just,
I had all that lobster and then we had to cancel.
Could we
it.
go after our last meeting of the year?
Yeah, you fell down the steps or something, didn't you, Dan?
yes, thanks for the reminder.
Could we go after our last meeting of the year?
we could very well try to do something on the 17th.
Yep.
Early supper.
No, not the 17th.
Sorry. We could try a different evening.
Yeah, if you could. That's our Lincoln Meadow Christmas party. I'm on the board there, so.
If we could all go there.
Huh?
Yeah, we'll all come
We'll all
to
come
the
there.
Lincoln Meadows.
That's, yeah, you probably wouldn't even notice you were here.
What's he trying to say?
I don't have a December calendar in front of me.
Not a Christmas cheer.
What is? I know by the middle of the month, all my townships are done, so I don't really have, I mean, I have Wednesday night commitment with church. But other than that, the 17th is busy. What about the 16th?
On a Monday night?
Yeah.
It's only not good for me, but the 18th would be good. Oh, you're out on the
Well-
18th.
If I have to, I have to, but I prefer not to.
19th also doesn't look bad, so.
We can try the 19th.
The 19th is gonna be the Parks and Rec Christmas party.
You're too busy.
You know it.
We got a lot of parties.
Do it after Christmas and get a New Year's in.
Yeah, we could do it between Christmas and New Year's.
Fine with me.
The 23rd look any better, or you going out of town?
23rd.
Third Monday.
It's open. We're having.
I think the trick would be finding somebody that's not booked that night,
It's-
so.
Yeah.
What about the 20th, Friday night? We'd have to get reservations, though.
On a Friday night, for sure.
I like you guys, but I'm not spending my Friday night.
What's
Well, I
that?
just know my girls will have
you
practice
doing
for
at
their
dinner
Christmas
night?
play.
The Blue Wagyu has got a nice banquet room, a separate room or something.
Where's that?
That's it in Berry County. It's
Yeah.
by the Yankee Springs Golf Course. It's where that is.
Middle Village.
It's reasonable. But I'm open to anywhere.
In Allegan County.
We could order just pizza and eat it here.
Well, I know that the new restaurant just to the south of us has this, they still have the side rooms where you can reserve space and have a larger party. Was it Main Street Barbecue? I mean, it's not, you know,
Main Street Barbecue?
yeah, it's not formal, like fancy Christmas stuff. It's maybe a more casual environment than,
We were there one other year.
No.
well, it's not the
It's not the county seat.
county seat anymore.
We were
It's
there when it
now
was a county seat.
a barbecue place.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine with me, too.
We can check with them and see if they're available on the 23rd or between Christmas and New Year's.
See what dates they have available and
Okay, we'll check and report back next week.
Who's going to do the checking?
What day do you want to go?
Michael said he'll do it.
Oh,
He'll double check with
all
them.
right.
Just see what they have available and we'll play it by ear and we'll know more next week. Anything else? All right, there being no further business and without objection, the committee is adjourned.
Thank you. Good meeting. People here today, man.